All right. So now that I see that not others are joining the call, things have kind of slowed down. We're going to go ahead and get started with our webinar. So I wanted to welcome you all to Packing 101. We wanted to take some time to answer any questions that you had, also give you some insight from current students on campus at Wayne State, and then also give space for you to ask any additional questions about their experiences or questions that you have related to moving in. So I'll go ahead and get started to introduce myself. My name is Vincent Hill. I currently serve as a community director on campus here at Wayne State University. I oversee the Anthony Wayne Drive apartments on campus, which is for upperclassmen students, second year and above. So what we will do is we will go around and introduce some of the VIPs we have on the call who will be assisting you with answering any questions. So if we want to start, Taylor, would you like to introduce yourself and Armani?
Yes, hi everybody. Armani and I are sharing a screen today. But my name is Taylor Ross. I'm the community director for Chatsworth Suites here at Wayne State, and I am entering my second year here as a staff member.
And hello everyone, I'm Armani Davis. I am also community director here at Wayne State for Towers Residential Suites, and I just started in February.
Awesome, thank you so much. Debbie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, I am Debbie Michael. I am the apartment coordinator for University Tower. I do the assignments in the billing for University Tower.
Awesome. Josie?
Hi, everybody. I'm Josie Curtis. I'm a student at Wayne State. I'm going to be a junior in the fall. I'm a graphic design major, and I lived at Anthony Wayne Drive apartment this past school year.
Awesome. And then Caden?
Hey, everyone. I'm Caden. I'm a political science major here at Wayne State going into my senior year. I lived in Anthony Wayne Drive, but I'm also familiar with the other buildings as well.
All right, awesome. Thanks everyone for sharing who you are. For our guests on the call, we have a wide range of experience. We have operations on the call. We have in-building staff as well, and then we have a student perspective as well. So as we move on, Taylor and Armani will be monitoring the chat for any questions that we may have. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop those in the chat. We also have the hand raise feature with Zoom. So if you at any time you have any questions that you need answered, feel free to explore those options. So I will go ahead and get started with my personal experience about moving into a residence hall. I did not go to Wayne State University, first of all. I went to a university in the state of Ohio that had a 4-year live-on requirement. And so I have a lot of experience with moving into residence halls in the month of August. And so one of the biggest things for me is making sure that I'm planning ahead of time. A lot of time in things that I do, I typically wait until the last minute. But in terms of making sure that you're not forgetting any items or any things that make your your stay more accommodating or meets your needs, making sure that you're planning out ahead of time so that you're meeting deadlines, having time to gather items that you may need, especially if you're moving across the country or moving from a further distance. It's a lot easier to grab items that you may have, if you plan ahead and do those different things. The question that I posed was, what is one item you can't leave home without? And people, Gabrielle said a phone, and Tim said glasses. So these are essential items for multiple people. There may be other items that you may need or have that are good for academics or campus life, or something that just makes your apartment or residence hall or dorm room feel more homey. So that is kind of my experience. It never goes to plan. Sometimes you'll have a plan and things will come in and obstacles will happen that you have to overcome and be resilient. But it's always good to have a plan and be able to be flexible with that plan. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Caden to talk about his experience with packing to live on campus.
Hey, so packing went pretty smoothly for me. I like to plan ahead and organize things in like these plastic bins. I'd highly recommend getting those for moving. Packing was not too bad. Again, plan ahead. And then moving into Wayne State was a breeze. When I got there were people outside willing to help me. They had moving carts available. And there were just a bunch of people always making sure that I had a smooth transition. I was welcomed by the desk. They gave me a packet with information about my like my room, the key for my room, how it works, and then also like events that are going on. So it was a pretty smooth transition into campus.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a great experience. You know, being able to, and it's a little easier. Caden works for Housing and Residence Life here at Wayne State University. So he kind of understands the processes that go into moving in and out of the building. But I think another tip that I have is kind of just understanding what resources are available to you. And if you don't understand what those resources are, we'll kind of share different resources that we have and ways that we can support you to make your transition easier. But what I want to do is kind of go around to our panel that we have to see if there's any tips and tricks or any advice that individuals may have in terms of moving in. So anybody have any tips or tricks?
I was going to suggest that possibly talking to your roommates. Maybe you don't have to bring double stuff. Maybe, you know, I mean, some people do like to have their own things, but sometimes I know a lot of times they get with their roommate and say, okay, you're going to bring the microwave or whatever. But I did through the years learn that that's a good tip to, so that saves on space in duplicate items.
Definitely. We had a question from Kyle in the chat box. Kyle asked, are there going to be move-in times? And if so, when will they be? I responded in the chat box. So for first year transfer and then students who will be living in the living learning communities or LLCs, move-in will be Thursday, August 25th. And then for upper class students, move-in will be Saturday and Sunday, August 27th and 28th. And we'll also have this on a slide later on towards the end of our webinar. So you can take a picture of it or you can jot that down from the chat box.
And I do believe that there will be an official move-in letter coming out the first week of August. So with, you know, dates and times again on there.
Mm-hmm. Are there any other questions before we move on to our next panelists if they have any tips and tricks? All right, so Tim asks, will there be drop-off zones for incoming students stuff and then go park and after unloading Chatsworth, for example? So Taylor, would you like to answer that for Chatsworth specifically?
If I am correct, I believe the drop-off zones are still on Anthony Wayne Drive on the street, and then we'll have Warrior Welcome Crew available to help students unload and bring their items to the building and up to their suites.
Definitely. Yeah, I know for a lot of the buildings that are on Anthony Wayne Drive specifically, so Gafari, Anthony Wayne Drive apartments, and then Towers, there will be parking, street parking, and then there's also two parking structures, structure 2, which is behind the Anthony Wayne Drive apartments, and then structure 5, which is on the corner of Anthony Wayne Drive by where the pharmacy and campus health center are. So those are both options for you as well. All right. Would anybody like to share some more tips and tricks for move-in? All right, the next question that we have, we'll move on to a question for Sandra is, for classes, will there need to be some notebooks or is everything digital? So with this, as we are moving to a post-pandemic academic experience or community, there are classes that are in person now. There is some, it really depends on the professor. I'm not sure if Caden or Josie would like to kind of talk about your experience as a student at Wayne State.
Yeah, sure. So I'd highly recommend keeping a notebook, even if the class is online, just to kind of have your notes in a centered position or a central location. And then also, it depends on your professor. So soon your Canvas pages will start being updated with what your professors are doing, and they'll be posting their syllabuses early. And those syllabuses will provide expectations for what you should be bringing in class. Like, should you be bringing a laptop, a notebook, a pencil, etc. those expectations will be communicated to you by your professor.
Very similar to what Kaden said. The professors will share with you the material that you need for each class. It's different for each class. And that will be posted in the syllabus. I recommend, at least for me, it was helpful to have at least a planner or a notebook to write things down to keep track of like assignments and stuff. But really, it's kind of be also what you want to do to keep track of your own schedule and your own work. Most things now is, even if it's an in-person class, all the assignments are mostly turned in digitally. So if you have a paper that you have to turn in, you turn it in through Canvas. If you have like readings to do, it's done through Canvas as well. So a lot of the physical material you're not actually going to need because it's mostly digital. And that's, again, regardless on if it's an in-person class or an online class.
Mhm. All right, so our next question is from Yusuf. Yusuf says, I'm traveling from outside the US. I need to know what exactly is provided in the room and where to buy or rent extra needed furniture. For example, is there a microwave, mini refrigerator provided? So I'm dropping a link in the chat, which goes to our housing options on our website, housing.wayne.edu. This provides the different housing options on campus. One thing to differentiate on the website is if you're staying in an apartment on campus, the Anthony Wayne Drive apartments come furnished. They have kitchen appliances as well. So they come with a fridge, a microwave, dishwasher, and then they also come with other items with a bed, a couch, storage, and those other items. If you are going to be staying in the University Towers apartments, those are unfurnished. So those will require you to bring your own furniture and kitchen appliances as well. I'm not sure, Debbie, if you know if they come with refrigerators.
Yep, the only thing that they come with is a stove and a fridge. Everything else you have to bring at University Tower.
Okay.
They're totally unfurnished.
Definitely. All right. Tim asks about what date to expect the move-in time email. I believe this is going out the first week of August. Debbie had mentioned that earlier. A specific date I'm unsure of, but I'm assuming the first week of August. All right. Ken Minto stated, my son is there currently for summer athletic bridge. He'll be living in UT in the fall. My understanding is his move-in date is August 19th. Bridge ends on the 17th or 18th. Is it possible to move straight from Towers residential on the 17th or 18th for moving everything home and then back a day or so later?
Yes, they are moving directly from camp to their assigned space for the fall. So if that's University Tower, that's where they'll be going. The coach should be communicating all that directly with the student.
All right. So we'll take a break from questions for a minute. Are there any outlying questions, tips, or tricks from our panel? All right. So we will head back to questions. So Wilson asked, how does lofting of beds work? Do we send a request to housing or arrange upon move-in? Would somebody like to take this question?
I can answer it. So there will, for all of the residence halls and apartments don't allow for furniture to be lofted, but for those that do have the option, there'll be equipment available for you during move-in, and you can just either find an RA or a community director or go to the front desk to get that equipment. It is up to the student or resident to loft their own furniture. The university or staff members does not do it for you. And the same would be said at the end of the year. It would be up to you to, or it would be your responsibility to de-loft your bed and your furniture before move out at the end of the year.
All right, Sandra asked, for move-in day, do we have specific time to be there or can we come earlier if we want? So what I would say is the time that is given to you to move in is the earliest you're able to move in. This allows for our facilities partner Corvius to come in and make these spaces move-in ready and to assess for any damages that may have occurred from the previous resident of that space. And so that also allows them to flip the space with our housekeeping staff to ensure that it's clean and ready for you to move in. Also, if that space is previously occupied, it allows the individual before you time to move their items out as well. The time for moving on the dates given above, and which will be shared later on, will be shared to you in the email given the first week of August with specific times. All right. Tim asked, will family members be able to help move stuff up to the room, or is there a building access issue? Somebody like to take this question?
How we did it last year, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be the same moving forward, is that we do allow family members and supporters to help their students move their belongings in on move-in day. Each building, a few of our buildings have different dates for move-in. And so I believe we had until 7 p.m. last year, correct me if I'm wrong, Vincent, for people to help their residents move in. And after 7 p.m., that's when the guest policy goes into effect. And the wristbands that were given out were no longer valid, if that makes sense.
Correct.
And they would have to be checked in as guests at that point.
Correct.
Just to jump in there, there's also a 8 o'clock meeting for the floors that all students are required to attend. And then we asked our, the parents and the guests and family members to gracefully say their goodbyes to their students. But there is definitely a on-floor meeting that we have with all the students.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you touched on this, Taylor, with our COVID protocols as well. Did you touch on that?
The COVID protocols for moving?
Yeah. Yeah.
I can jump in here too as well. I've been reading a lot of the information.
Okay.
So yes, everyone that's coming to campus, whether it's a guest or it's the student itself, will have to, if you're the student, you need to complete your screener as well as submit your vaccinations for both the flu as well as COVID-19. That should be done prior to coming to campus. Second, if you're coming as a guest, you also need to complete the guest screener as well. And everyone that's helping you out needs to complete those too, whether it's you or the student. And that can be found. I'll throw it in the chat. I need to find it because we typically do a different process for students that are already on campus. But yes, everyone needs to complete those screeners in order to enter any campus building. And that's kind of our process on campus. And just one thought about the lofting, it is first come, first served. Every floor, every student doesn't have that option. Like once the extra footboard or headboard is given away, then everyone is, that's it for the building.
I think the only buildings that allow lofting is Ghaffari, Thompson, and Towers, Armani?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right, we will move on to Maddie's question. And Maddie asked, will the move-in module on campus be available as well when the move-in emails are sent out the first week of August?
Yes, it will be. We'll send it in that first email of August.
All right, to expand for Louis' question about the need to wear masks when entering the AWD apartments, masks are optional now on campus. We do require the vaccine and flu mandate or flu vaccinations. We require those, but masks are only required in labs and classrooms on campus. Masks are not required in any residential buildings, the student center, any other building, any other indoor spaces. But if you're more comfortable wearing a mask, feel free to do so. All right, any other questions? we have exhausted our questions in the chat box. Are there any people that would like to ask any questions verbally by raising their hand? All right, Yusuf asked in the chat, from previous experience, can you please estimate when are the move-in times? This is crucial info for flight reservation.
Can you, oh, 3 people, so.
I was just gonna say, usually it starts at 9, right? But depending on, I don't know how we're gonna do it this year, to be honest with you, but normally it starts at 9.
Yeah, I believe it's from 9 to 5. So check-in will be at the Welcome Center from 9 to 5. And we ask that you definitely come at the time that you have selected, just so there's not overlapping of individuals in the building. So we're trying to keep the flow of traffic at a minimum. There are like 2 elevators or 4 elevators, depending on which building you're going to, or you'll be living at. For the international student, I would definitely call the housing office because there might be some accommodations we can help you with as an international student. So you can contact the office either via email, which is at housing@wayne.edu, and talk with someone about your accommodations on moving in either at a specific time so you can kind of plan accordingly.
All right, are there any other questions? Maddie, do we need to have both of our booster shots prior to moving in?
Yes, you do. I'm sorry, the second booster is not required yet. So we go by what the CDC it recommends. So the second booster is not a mandate for the country yet, but the first one is. It's required. I'm gonna actually go look for that site right now so you all can see it in the chat. And all of this communication will be in the email. So definitely check your email. We ask that all the students please review your Wayne State email for our communication and not your personal emails. We typically send a lot of communication through that before school starts.
All right, so Wilson asked, you also mentioned the flu shot. Will that be required prior as well? Yes, Wayne State University requires the flu vaccine and the COVID-19 vaccine as well as the booster shot.
I dropped in the COVID link, COVID-19. I would definitely read through the communications. They are updating it for this year, just make this upcoming fall. And you can definitely review what's required before you step on the campus. If you need a waiver for either the flu vaccination or the COVID-19, you should do so early before stepping on campus. Just FYI, they won't let you move in without those, either the waiver or the vaccine already uploaded to our system.
All right, so another question that we had is, are the vaccine cards brought in person or uploaded online? And Maddie also asked, how are we submitting our flu vaccine? So multiple questions about how to submit vaccination records.
So yeah, if you go to that website I dropped in the chat, it's wayne.edu/coronavirus. There is a submit vaccine documentation button on the home page of that link. You can definitely submit it there. I would also carry it with me, but once you submit it through the documentation, your screener would also note that you have it. So we don't need it in person, but I would carry it with me just in case something happens. But definitely you need to make sure you submit your vaccine documentation prior to coming to campus. And this will be in the email on the August. Is there a list of accepted COVID-19 is one of the questions. COVID-19 vaccines. Whatever the United States deems as a COVID vaccine is what we've approved for on campus. So whether you have the Johnson & Johnson or the Moderna, if I'm saying the correct name. And then I know there's a third one.
Yeah, Pfizer.
The Pfizer, there you go. Yeah, those are all approved. So that's what we ask that you show.
All right, I also wanted to I just dropped it in the chat box, the link to our community living guide. In terms of moving in, this is a great resource to have in terms of what our policies, guidelines, protocol are. On page 23 is a list of the prohibited and permitted items for residence halls and apartments on campus. So I would urge you to take a look at that page specifically, page 23, to look at different things that you may be thinking about bringing, such as, incense or candles, space heaters, air fryers are really popular now. So look at making sure that you're looking at, page 23 of the community living guide, as well as other pages as well regarding our guest policy and other guidelines that we have. So looking at our webinar now, for more information to learn more about the move-in process, visit housing.wayne.edu/moving in. This will provide you with a ton of resources, answer any questions that you may have, and also provide you with more guidance regarding this process. We know it's an anxious time period, especially if you're an incoming freshman or returning to campus, and we want to make it as seamless and smooth as possible for you and answer any questions that you may have, so that when you get on campus, you can just focus on moving in and having a great experience doing so. All right, any questions? I know this was asked earlier about move-in dates. It's now on the screen, so if you would like to take a picture of this or write it down, please do so. For first year transfer and LLC students, move-in will be August 25th, which is a Thursday. And then on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, the 27th and 28th of August, we will have upper class students moving in as well. So this will be really great for students who are, first year and transfer students, LLC students, to get acclimated to campus, meet other students who have similar experiences as you, and kind of get to know campus for a few extra days. All right, and then lastly, this is just our contact information for the Wayne State University Office of Housing and Residence Life. The first one is our website, so housing.wayne.edu. Again, this shares contact information, living options, information about our LLCs or living learning communities, and a variety of other resources that you can access as a student or a parent. The second one is our email, so housing@wayne.edu. If you have any questions that you haven't been able to answer or forgot to ask, please reach out. We'd love to answer the questions that you have and provide direction or guidance. And then lastly, this is our Central Housing Office's phone number, 313-577-2116. This will take you directly to our front desk of our Central Housing Office. And if you need to be put in contact with a specific individual or have questions answered, we have some experts or specialists that are able to answer those questions for you. And then if you're active on social media, we are on Facebook, Instagram, and I believe that is YouTube. So give us a follow and check us out. We have a lot of cool things that are going on in terms of our social media and our coverage as well. So before we log off, are there any last minute questions? Delaney asked in the chat, I'm transferring from a school that was 7 hours away to now this school that's an hour away. Do you have any tips on how to avoid overpacking or any tips on what boxes or storage things to bring? Would anybody like to take this question?
I'll jump in there. So we definitely suggest that you pack for the moment. So right now, if you're moving in August, you definitely don't need your winter boots or your winter coat. So we would definitely ask you to leave those items home and kind of transfer things as the semester goes along. We know that, some space is limited depending on where you staying, but it's probably best to kind of pack for the moment and then, like I said, transfer some things as you go home for, let's say, Thanksgiving vacation or Christmas break. So those, I think, times are good to like grab a couple more items and then take some items home. That's kind of how I know a lot of our students are. Can Josie or Kaden, you have any suggestions for those that may live a little bit closer or further away?
Yeah, so my family lives about an hour away as well. And I did what Mario suggested is I kind of keep my seasonal stuff with me and then everything that's out of season, I keep it home. For moving, I just went to Target and I got these big plastic bins to just pack my stuff in and then move them there. And then I would stack them and keep them under my bed or bring them home. And that's what I recommend.
Let's see, I only live about a half an hour away, so I was moving a little bit closer. So it was a little bit different because if I had too much stuff or if I forgot something, I would just run home really quick. It wasn't super inconvenient for me. However, there was a few things that I definitely brought that I didn't need to bring that I noticed, like unless you're planning on going to the pool to work out, you really don't need to bring a bathing suit. Unless you like have a friend that has a pool. But for me, like I brought bathing suits and I never use bathing suits. I never use my beach towels. So there's just like a few things that if you think like, okay, am I really realistically going to be using this while I'm studying and or at school? Like I would leave it home. Limit things like bringing maybe some ways to cut back on what you bring is like maybe if you have like 5 or 6 bags, like think, do I need all these bags? Think how many shoes do I need to use in like a month? And if there's like you have 10 pairs of shoes and you're like, okay, I want to cut back, just think of like ways that you can cut back on bringing like all the options that you have. What Kate and Amario said, like dressing for the weather. So right now it's nice weather. So again, you won't need your heavy winter coats and heavy winter boots. So you can leave those home. And then when you go back in a couple months, when it gets colder, you can pick those up and swap out some clothes. One thing that I found really helpful for organization is getting like one of those IKEA cubicle things and having lots of drawers. Those can fit, I'm pretty sure, in all of our residential options. And those are super helpful to keeping your stuff organized. And they're a good storage unit. So I would suggest if anybody is looking for an organization unit, looking at those. They're not too expensive either, which is nice. And then another thing that was useful that I was able to get to help me actually transport stuff back and forth was actually getting a fold up wagon. And those are very nice, especially when you're also moving in. Moving is crazy and it's hectic, and they have bins, but there's a big long line for bins, and having my own fold up wagon was really nice to, I filled my wagon up, I took a load up, I took it back down. And then when I wasn't using my wagon, I would just fold it up and put it in my closet. And it was very nice to have that. So those are just a few things that I had that I think would be useful to all of you.
Yes, definitely. Just want to reiterate that move-in day, there are carts and bins that we will lend to you to use, but we don't have one for every resident that's moving in. So we do suggest that you bring a dolly or a cart of some sorts to help with the process. The quicker you can move your stuff in on your own, the quicker that you can help your student get into the space. Whether it's raining, it's sunny, or it's winter, it's snowing on August 25th or the 27th or 28th, we will still have move-in. So I definitely need to say that on the call. We go rain or shine. So the better you're prepared for moving your own things in with like your cart or dolly, the quicker I think you'll be, and everyone will be happy. And if another thing, if you're on like the second floor, and if you can, I'm going to mute somebody. Okay, sorry about that. We would definitely suggest that if you are on the second floor, and if you're okay with walking up a flight of steps, that you do take the steps. The elevators, like I said, there's like in Chatsworth, there's only 2 elevators for the building. In AWD, there's only 4, and I think there's only 4 in I don't want to say towers as well. So those elevators get jammed up pretty quickly because everyone's trying to use them. So I would definitely suggest if you can take the steps on that one, you can. Armani, you have any suggestions for towers?
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes. I second everything that Mario said. The carts do go really quick. So I think the best bet would be to bring whatever equipment you can to help assist you to move things in. Bins, all of those things are really good. And yes, the elevators do get jammed up. So just be prepared to maybe wait a little bit to get on the elevators. If you want to take the stairs, you can, but the stairs they're stairs. So.
All right, so just a few things to remember as we wrap up. We've shared our move-in dates. Mario has also stated that we're moving in, rain or shine. So feel free to remember that. I threw a few things in the chat box. So just remember that our social media handle is Wayne State Housing, at Wayne State Housing, for Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. And then visit housing.wayne.edu /moving in for helpful tips for moving and a list of what to bring. If you have any questions or need information, feel free to visit our website at housing.wayne.edu, email at housing@wayne.edu, or call 313-577-2116. We have a question from Delaney. In Towers, do we bring our own toilet paper, or is that something we get at the front desk? You will be responsible for bringing your own toilet paper. And then another question, yes, from Taylor, an answer. Awesome. All right, any last minute questions? Yes, please bring your own cleaning products. Throughout the academic year, we do health and safety checks, typically around holidays or times where the campus is closed. And so residents are responsible for keeping their spaces clean and safe, not only for themselves, but if they're sharing a space with other roommates, just being cognizant and respectful of their space as well.
A question that I get a lot are vacuums. Vacuums are not at the front desk to be checked out, so those are included in the cleaning products that you should bring if you have like small ones for your room.
All right, I had a question from Sandra. Do we bring our own trash bins, or are those provided? Trash bins are not provided. There are trash bins in common spaces and lounges, lobbies of the buildings, but they're not provided in private spaces or private suites or bedrooms. Mindy asked, do you recommend bringing your car if you're living on campus? So there are a variety of different options for transportation in metropolitan Detroit. I have a car on campus because I like to travel and my family's close by. So if that's something that you're interested in, that is an option. We do also have the Q line in the city of Detroit. There are parking structures available as well if you'd like your car to be in an area that's safe, covered, and also there's cameras for privacy and protection and all those things. But I don't know, Kaden and Josie, do you want to talk about your experience of having a car or not having a car on campus?
Sure, I can touch on that. I had a car on campus because similar to Vincent, I have family that's close, so I went and visited them, and it was definitely convenient to have a car. I will say it's not necessary. Everything on campus is within a walking distance, so if you are on campus without a car, you will be a-okay. It's not a necessary thing. Again, what Vincent said is that there's the Q line that is available if you want to go downtown, there's the bus system, and then there's bikes for students to use for free. They download the app and sign up with your Wayne State email. So again, as I had a car, I thought it was convenient. It's not necessary.
Keep in mind, if you do have a car, you will need a parking pass. And that is something that you would sign up with the parking office. And it looks like Taylor put it in the chat, the link to the parking office.
If you're on the fence about it, you can purchase a permit at any time. So maybe come to campus and see how you like not having a car. And then if you decide that you want one, you can always purchase one at a later date.
All right. Dawn asked, what structures are best to park your car by Chatsworth? So the two I mentioned earlier are parking structure 2, which is behind Anthony Wayne Drive. It's a 3 to 5 minute walk to Chatsworth. And then parking structure 5 is similarly probably a 3 to 5 minute walk. They're right next to each other. I'm not sure if there's another structure nearby that would be in close proximity, but parking structure 2 and 5 for sure are right on campus and are accessible to Ghaffari, Chatsworth, Anthony Wayne Drive Apartments, and then Towers. They're all within 3 to 5 minutes of each building.
Yes, and I want to add to this when Josie was talking about the collapsible cart. we are the furthest building in the residential neighborhood from parking structure 2. I have a cart myself. When you are bringing stuff from your car, grocery runs, whatever, those carts definitely come in handy. You can put that right in your trunk and just load your things up and take one trip versus having to walk back and forth from the building and back to the structure, because street parking is city parking and you do have to pay to park there. So those carts are definitely a game changer.
Mhm. For any individuals who are moving into Thompson Home or University Towers, parking structure 8, I believe, is the one that is in closest proximity to those 2 buildings. All right. Aspen had a question. What would you recommend to bring for the laundry facility in the buildings? So for our laundry facilities, we use a third-party company or app called Wash. So you can download the app on your phone and you can upload funds to use towards your washer or dryer use. Each load is $1.50 per load. The only thing that you need to bring is your own the laundry detergent. And if you want a clothes bin or something to transport your clothes back and forth to your apartment or room, that's also recommended if you don't want to carry them or lose them. If you don't have a smartphone, you do not need to use the smart app. It also takes coins for those machines. So it's whatever is best for you. All right, any last questions? All right. If that's the case, if we don't have any last minute questions, we want to thank you for your time. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our Central Housing Office's email address at housing@wayne.edu. We'd love to answer any questions that you may have. We look forward to having you here next month. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
You're welcome.